What truly defines, a spiritual master or someone we'd call enlightened? Is it about grand, flashy displays of power? Or is it something much deeper?
Yeah, something like profound insight into how existence actually works. It's a fundamental question.
Absolutely. And it's often misunderstood, isn't it? As people look for the big signs, the wonders, but maybe the real wisdom lies somewhere else entirely.
That's exactly right.
Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take complex source material, break it down, and pull out the really key nuggets for you.
And today, we're diving into a really fascinating ancient text from the Buddhist tradition, the Pāṭikasuttaṃ.
Right. It gives us this amazing window into the whole spiritual scene back in the Buddhist time.
Yeah.
And maybe surprisingly, it offers lessons on discernment that still feel relevant today.
Yeah.
How to tell the real deal from just showmanship.
Our source is a detailed account. It's right from the Pali Canon, so it gives us a pretty rich narrative of these events, these interactions.
Okay, so our mission today, let's try and figure out how the Buddha handled these direct challenges to his authority. Why did he kind of push back against expectations for miracles?
And what was his unique understanding of the universe, really?
Exactly. So you'll hear about rival ascetics, some, frankly, astonishing predictions, and really deep cosmological ideas, all aimed at clarifying what genuine wisdom looks like
Right.
then and now.
Let's get into it.
So where does the story kick off?
It starts with the Buddha, who's referred to as Bhaggava, visiting a wanderer, Bhaggavagotto, in a place called Anupya.
Okay.
And it's Bhaggavagotto who brings up a problem. He mentions that Sunakkhatta, who is a Licchavi prince and actually a former follower of the Buddha.
A former disciple.
Yeah, he's renounced his discipleship. He's left.
Okay, so why? What were his issues?
Well, Bhaggavagotto lays out Sunakkhatta's complaints. The first big one was that Sunakkhatta felt the Buddha didn't perform superhuman feats of psychic power, specifically for him, the Piharya, as the text calls it.
Ah, so he felt personally snubbed, like he wasn't getting the special treatment, the magic show.
Pretty much. He felt shortchanged. Like the Buddha wasn't delivering on some implied promise of, amazing abilities.
And how did the Buddha respond to that?
Well, his response is really, really crucial here. It sets the tone for everything. He clarifies, point blank, I never promised you such displays.
No guarantee of miracles.
Exactly. He says the real purpose of his teaching, the Dhamma, is for the cessation of suffering. And that's true whether or not any flashy feats are performed. It immediately draws a line.
So it's not about entertainment. It's about liberation from, suffering, delusion.
Precisely. But Sunakkhatta had another issue.
Oh, what else?
His second grievance was that the Buddha hadn't taught what he called a primordial doctrine, or an aganya, a discourse on origins, basically an ultimate explanation for how everything began.
He wanted the cosmic blueprint, the ultimate why.
You could say that. He felt like he was being denied the big secret about existence.
Okay, and the Buddha's take on that?
Again, he pushes back directly. He says, look, I never promised that specific kind of origin story you seem to be expecting. But then he points out something important.
Which is?
He reminds Sunakkhatta that he did teach about the fundamental qualities, the nature of the Buddha himself, the Dhamma, the teaching, and the Sangha, the community, back in Vajrayana.
Ah, so he did teach foundational stuff, just not the specific cosmic origin story Sunakkhatta had in mind.
Exactly. It kind of highlights Sunakkhatta's maybe selective hearing, right? Focusing on what he thought he should get rather than what was actually being offered for liberation.
Right, right. And this is where things get pretty serious, isn't it? There's a prophecy involved.
Oh, yeah. This is heavy. The Buddha, seeing deeply into the situation, foresees Sunakkhatta getting widely criticized for leaving, and then he predicts a really grim outcome for him.
What does he say?
He states Sunakkhatta will be bound for realms of deprivation, hell. It casts a really dark shadow right from the start.
Wow. That definitely raises the stakes. It underlines the consequences of, misunderstanding or rejecting the path.
Absolutely. And the text doesn't just leave it there. It goes on to show how the Buddha's foresight plays out in specific instances. It's not just talk.
Okay, so let's see the proof. Where does it start?
The first case study is quite dramatic. The Buddha and Sunakkhatta are in a place called Uttaraka, and they encounter this naked ascetic, Korakadya.
And what's his deal?
He practices something called a dog-like vow, a kukuravatiko. He literally eats food scattered on the ground using only his mouth like a dog.
Okay, that's quite an image. And Sunakkhatta's reaction?
Sunakkhatta is impressed. He sees this extreme practice and thinks, wow, this guy must be a good-natured, worthy ascetic.
So again, focusing on the outward show, the extreme practice,
Yeah.
rather than maybe inner quality?
Exactly. But the Buddha, he reads Sunakhatta's mind, sees this superficial judgment, and criticizes him for it.
And then comes the prediction.
Yes, and it's incredibly precise. The Buddha says Korakatiya will die in exactly 7 days. The cause, dysentery or alasakena.
Specific cause of death, too.
And not just that, he predicts his rebirth. He'll become a Kalakanyachia, which is a very low-ranking type of asurta, a sort of miserable demigod.
Wow.
And wait, there's more. He even foretells where the body will be discarded in a specific charnel ground called Virantanapaksusain.
That is chillingly specific. What does Sunakkhatta do? Does he just accept this?
No, not at all. He's skeptical, as you might expect. He actually tries to disprove the Buddha. He goes to Korakatiya and advises him to eat and drink moderately, maybe hoping to, keep him alive past the 7 days.
Trying to interfere with the prophecy.
Right. But it doesn't work. Despite Sunakhatta's intervention, Korakatiya dies exactly as predicted 7 days later, from dysentery.
Okay, that's already pretty compelling. But does Sunakkhatta verify the rest? The rebirth, the location?
He does. This is the really dramatic part. Sunakhatta goes to the specific charnel ground the Buddha named. He finds the body. He prods the body 3 times with something. And then Korakatiya's spirit, his consciousness, actually briefly manifests right there.
Ooh.
Seriously. Seriously. And it confirms its rebirth as a Kalakanyajikasura, just as the Buddha said, before collapsing again.
That's undeniable. What's Sunakkhatta's reaction now? He has to be convinced, right?
Well, yes and no. At that moment, faced with this, even Sunakhatta has to admit, okay, that was a genuine, superhuman feat of psychic power. He saw it with his own eyes.
There's a but, isn't there?
There is. Despite witnessing this irrefutable proof, he still doesn't seem to grasp the deeper lesson. He doesn't connect it back to the Buddha's earlier warning about his own path, his own potential fate.
So he sees the miracle, acknowledges it, but doesn't learn the underlying message about discernment or trust.
Exactly. It's like he compartmentalizes it. Okay, a miracle happened, but it doesn't shift his fundamental skepticism or his view of the Buddha's core teaching.
That's incredible. It really shows how deep-seated wrong views can be. Even direct evidence isn't enough sometimes.
It's a stark illustration. And unbelievably, it doesn't stop there. There's another incident.
Another one. Okay, lay it on us.
This time, the Buddha is in Vesali. And there's another popular naked ascetic, this one, named Karamajaka.
Popular for what? More strange vows.
Yep. He's known for his 7 vows, which include things like celibacy, but also, interestingly, eating only meat and alcohol and being very strict about honoring certain shrines.
Okay, a different flavor of asceticism. And Sunakkhatta encounters him.
He does. Sunakhatta gets into a discussion with Karamajaka, but the ascetic gets enraged, apparently unable to answer Sunakhatta's points.
And Sunakkhatta's reaction. Let me guess.
You got it. He again worries that he's offended a worthy ascetic, still hasn't learned to look beyond the surface reputation or the vows.
His judgment is consistently off.
Yeah.
So the Buddha steps in again, reads his mind.
Again, reads Sunakhatta's mind, sees the worry, and makes another precise prediction about Karamajaka.
What's the prediction this time?
He predicts this popular ascetic's imminent downfall. He says Karamajaka will soon abandon his vows, start hanging out with followers, eat ordinary food, completely ignore the shrines he swore to honor.
A total reversal of his public persona.
Exactly. And ultimately, he'll die in disrepute, having lost all his spiritual credibility.
And does it happen?
Just like with Korakatiya, Karamajaka's decline unfolds precisely as the Buddha predicted. Every detail comes true.
So Sunakkhatta sees this prediction fulfilled too.
Yes. He again confirms the accuracy. He again acknowledges it as a superhuman feat of psychic power.
But surely this time it sinks in. 2 undeniable proofs back to back.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no. Here's the frustrating part, the tragedy of it, really. Even after 2 clear demonstrations, Sunakkhatta still clings to his skepticism, his delusion.
He just can't connect the dots.
Well,
or won't.
It seems he won't. His inability to truly learn from what he witnesses is just persistent. And the Buddha, seeing this, sadly has to reiterate his original grim prediction for Sunakkhatta's own future.
Wow. It's like watching someone walk towards a cliff edge, being warned repeatedly, seeing others fall, and still insisting on walking forward.
That's a good analogy. It really highlights the power of ingrained views and perhaps ego, preventing someone from accepting truth, even when it's demonstrated so powerfully.
So these were kind of private or semi-private proofs for Sunakkhatta. Did things ever get more public?
Oh, yes. The next major event involves a very public challenge. It really raises the stakes again.
Okay, what happened?
We're still in Vesali, and another naked ascetic named Pāṭikasuttaṃ starts publicly boasting.
Boasting about what?
He issues a direct challenge to the Buddha. He proposes a miracle contest.
The miracle showdown. Serious?
Yes, and Pāṭikasuttaṃ claims he will perform twice as many superhuman feats as the Buddha. He's really throwing down the gauntlet, wanting a big public spectacle.
Okay, that's bold. How does the Buddha react when he hears about this challenge? I assume Sunakkhatta tells him.
Sunakkhatta does report it, and the Buddha's response is incredibly confident, unwavering. He simply declares that Pāṭikasuttaṃ, because he's clinging so tightly to his arrogant views, will not be able to come into my presence. And he adds, if Pāṭikasuttaṃ somehow did manage to approach him, his head would split.
His head would split.
Yeah.
That's intense. How can he be so sure? Is it just a prediction or something more?
He explains it comes from two sources. First, direct knowledge. He knows Pāṭikasuttaṃ's mind, his state, directly.
Okay, direct insight.
But also, interestingly, from divine reports.
Divine reports, like from gods.
Exactly, and the text gives a specific example. A Licchavi general named Ahita, who had recently died and was reborn in the Tavatisa heaven, actually appears to the Buddha.
A heavenly being confirms it.
Yes, Ahita confirms that Pāṭikasuttaṃ is basically a liar. He even mentions that Pāṭikasuttaṃ had made a false prediction about Ahita himself, claiming Ahita would go to hell when he actually went to heaven.
So Pāṭikasuttaṃ has a track record of being wrong.
Right. And Ahita, the divine being, corroborates the Buddha's prediction. If Pāṭikasuttaṃ tries to approach the Buddha, his head will indeed split.
Okay, so the stage is set. You've got this public challenge, this confident counter-prediction, backed by divine testimony. What happens next? Does the showdown occur?
Well, the Buddha proceeds to Pāṭikasuttaṃ's park, ready for the encounter, and Sunakkhatta, he gets excited.
Of course he does, hoping for fireworks.
Maybe. Or perhaps still secretly hoping the Buddha might finally slip up. He rushes off to tell everyone, prominent Licchavis, Brahmins, householders, other ascetics, come quick, witness the superhuman feats.
He's drumming up the audience for the miracle contest that Pāṭikasuttaṃ proposed.
Exactly. So a huge crowd gathers, full of anticipation. They're all expecting some kind of psychic battle.
And Pāṭikasuttaṃ, is he ready?
This is where it gets interesting. Pāṭikasuttaṃ hears about the massive crowd arriving, hears the Buddha is present, and he's suddenly struck with immense fear, trembling, and horripilation. Goosebumps, basically. Pure terror.
His bravado evaporates when it's actually time to face the Buddha.
Completely. He actually flees. He runs off to another park used by wanderers, trying to avoid the confrontation.
So the contest is off before it even begins.
Yeah.
But the crowd is there. What do?
They don't give up easily. They send a messenger to summon Pāṭikasuttaṃ from the other park.
And does he come?
Here's the truly bizarre, almost comical part. The messenger finds him, tells him the crowd is waiting. Pāṭikasuttaṃ keeps saying, yes, yes, I am coming, friends, I'm coming.
But
he doesn't move. He remains completely, inexplicably stuck to his seat. He literally cannot get up.
Stuck to his seat, like physically unable to move.
That's how the text describes it. It's this profound moment of maybe psychological paralysis manifesting physically, or perhaps something more mystical. But the prediction that he wouldn't be able to come into the Buddha's presence is playing out right there.
Wow. So his own fear, maybe the weight of his lie, is holding him down. What happens then? Does anyone else try to get him?
Yes, a Licchavi minister tries next. He goes to Pāṭikasuttaṃ and even repeats the Buddha's warning. The Buddha said, you can't come into his presence, and if you did, your head would split.
Laying it out plainly.
He even makes this almost absurd suggestion. Look, maybe we could tie you up with straps and get some oxen to drag you there.
Drag him to the showdown.
But then he immediately warns, even if we did that, the straps would probably break before you moved, or your head would split anyway. So even trying to force it would fulfill the prophecy one way or another.
And Pāṭikasuttaṃ, still stuck.
Still stuck, immobile, paralyzed by his own hubris and the reality check delivered by the Buddha's presence and prediction.
So no amount of coaxing or threatening works. Is that the end of the attempts?
There's one final attempt, more aimed at shaming him. Jalya, who's described as a disciple of Dharupātika, steps up.
And what's his approach?
He uses analogies, really powerful ones actually, fables about a jackal and a lion.
Okay, tell us about the fable.
He tells the story of this mighty lion king roaring, hunting, being majestic, and then there's this lowly jackal basically living off the lion's scraps.
Right.
But the jackal starts getting delusions of grandeur. It thinks, hey, I'm basically a lion too, so it tries to roar like the lion.
And how does that go?
It just produces this pathetic little jackal yelp. It can't mimic the real thing. And Jalia explicitly compares Pāṭikasuttaṃ to this jackal.
Ouch. Calling him out for pretending to be something he's not, challenging a true lion like the Buddha.
Exactly. Jalia even offers a couple more variations on this theme, really driving home the point about the jackal's self-deception and fundamental inability to match the lion's true nature.
Did the shaming work? Did Pāṭikasuttaṃ finally get up?
Nope. Despite all the efforts, the logic, the shaming, Pāṭikasuttaṃ remains stuck, utterly defeated. Not by any physical force from the Buddha, but by his own internal state, his fear, his arrogance collapsing under the weight of truth.
So the big miracle contest was a total non-event, ending with the challenger paralyzed in his seat.
A complete anticlimax for Pāṭikasuttaṃ. But then the Buddha does something significant.
What does he do?
Having demonstrated Pāṭikasuttaṃ's utter impotence, the emptiness of his boasts, the Buddha then performs what the text presents as a truly profound display. Not the kind Pāṭikasuttaṃ was promising, but something deeper.
Okay, what was it?
First, he addresses the assembled crowd. He gives a Dhamma talk, an explanation of the path, and through this teaching, it said he frees 84,000 beings from great bonds and deep abysses.
So a mass liberation through teaching, not just a flashy trick.
Precisely. It's about genuine release from suffering. But then he does do something visually striking. He enters a deep meditative state of fire element concentration.
What does that involve?
The description is intense. He ascends high into the air, 7 palm trees high. He creates another image of himself, also blazing with fire, 7 palm trees high. There's fire, light, smoke, a powerful controlled manifestation of inner energy and mastery.
So he can do these kinds of things.
Yes, but notice the context. It's not for showmanship, not to win a contest. It comes after the teaching, after demonstrating the challenger's emptiness. It feels more like a display of the potential results of the path, perhaps, or a compassionate blessing for the assembly. And then he calmly returns.
A stark contrast to Pāṭikasuttaṃ's empty boasts and subsequent paralysis. This feels deliberate, powerful, and focused on liberation, not ego.
Exactly. It redefines what a truly meaningful superhuman feat might be, not just psychic tricks, but the power to liberate beings and demonstrate profound states of concentration grounded in wisdom.
And Sunakkhatta. He witnessed all of this. The challenger's failure, the Buddha's teaching, the fire concentration. What's his final reaction? Does this finally change him?
It's almost heartbreaking. Again, Sunakkhatta acknowledges what he saw. Yes, that was a superhuman feat. He can't deny the visual evidence.
Yeah.
But he still clings to his initial disbelief, his fundamental rejection. Even after this profound sequence of events, he doesn't shift his underlying view.
Still stuck in his original grievance.
Yes. And the Buddha, seeing this enduring blindness, has to repeat one last time the prediction about Sunakkhatta's inevitable negative fate. It underscores the tragedy of clinging to wrong views, even when the truth is demonstrated in multiple undeniable ways.
It's a really sobering end to that part of the story. It seems the core issue wasn't just about miracles, but about a deeper understanding of reality itself, like that primordial doctrine Sunakkhatta complained about.
Exactly. And that brings us to the next major section, where the Buddha directly addresses this idea of aganya, the discourse on origins, but from his own unique perspective.
Okay, so he does have something to say about origins, just not what Sunakkhatta was expecting.
Precisely. He asserts that he does have unique knowledge of origins and even knowledge beyond it. But here's the absolute key. He says he knows it without clinging to it.
Without clinging. Why is that so important?
Because for the Buddha, that non-attachment is the path to liberation. Knowing something is one thing, being attached to that knowledge, making it a fixed dogma, is another. His non-clinging is what prevents him from falling into error, allowing him to see the complete truth, not just a partial view he's invested in.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how does he demonstrate this superior, unattached understanding?
He critiques 4 common but ultimately limited views of origins that were being taught by other ascetics and Brahmins at the time. He shows how each view arises from recalling past lives, but only recalling a fragment of the whole picture.
Ah, so they remember something, but not enough. And they build a whole cosmology on that incomplete memory.
Exactly. Their limited recollection leads to fundamental errors. The Buddha, claiming a much vaster memory, explains the full cosmic cycles they only partially grasp.
Okay, let's break down these four limited views. What's the first one?
The first is basically a theistic creator-god view. The text calls it Isarakuttaka Brahmakutaka.
How does the Buddha explain the origin of this belief?
He describes the cyclical nature of the universe, periods of contraction where everything dissolves and expansion where things reform. During contraction, beings might be reborn in higher radiant realms like the Apasara Brahma world.
Okay, higher realms.
Then, when the universe starts expanding again, an empty Brahma palace appears. Eventually, a being whose time or merit in the higher realm runs out is reborn there, all alone.
Alone in a new universe.
Right. And feeling lonely, this being wishes, oh, if only other beings would come here. And because of the conditions, eventually other beings do get reborn there, falling from the Abhasara realm.
Ah, so his wish seems to be fulfilled.
Exactly. And the first being, the one who got there first, seeing others arrive after his wish, makes a crucial mistake. He thinks, I am Brahma, great Brahma, the creator. I wished for these beings and poof, here they are. They were created by me.
He misinterprets correlation as causation based on his limited experience.
Precisely. And the beings who arrived later, they see this first Brahma already there, appearing powerful and established. So they mistakenly think, yeah, he must have created us. He was here first.
Okay, so that's the origin of the belief in the heavenly realm. How does it become a doctrine on Earth?
Well, eventually, some of those later-born beings die from that Brahma world and are reborn on Earth, maybe as ascetics who develop meditative abilities. They manage to recollect their immediate past life.
Their life with that Brahma.
Right, but only that life. They don't remember what came before the first Brahma appeared or the conditions that led to his rebirth there. So, based on this partial memory, they conclude that Brahma, the first one, he's eternal, unchanging, the creator, but we who came after him, we are impermanent, created by him.
And that becomes their primordial doctrine.
Wow. And the Buddha's point is, I know the whole sequence. I remember what happened before that first Brahma even appeared. I know why he was reborn there. Therefore, I see the fundamental error in the creator-God theory. It's born from incomplete memory.
That's a profound critique. It reframes the whole debate, not about proving or disproving a creator, but understanding how the belief itself arises from limited perception.
Exactly. It's about epistemology, about how we know what we claim to know about ultimate origins.
Okay, that's the first view. It's the second limited view he critiques.
The second is called the playfully corrupted view, Kitapaseka.
Playfully corrupted. How does that work?
This refers to certain gods, the Kitapaseka Deva, who spend too much time indulging in laughter, play, and amusement. Because they get so caught up in it, they lose mindfulness, their spiritual energy depletes, and they fall, meaning they die from that realm.
Okay. Excessive fun leads to a downfall.
Right. Now, if one of these beings is reborn on Earth as an ascetic and recollects that past life, what do they remember? They remember being a god who fell because of too much play.
So what conclusion did they draw?
They conclude, those gods who don't overdo the playing, who remain mindful, they must be eternal. But we, who got lost in amusement, we became impermanent because of our play. Again, a universal doctrine based on a specific partial memory of one type of divine existence and its ending.
Another example of mistaking a specific cause for a universal principle due to limited recall.
Got it.
What's the third view?
The third is similar, but the cause is different. It's the mentally corrupted view, Manopadosika.
Mental corruption.
Yeah. This involves gods, the Manopadosika Deva, who spend too much time staring at each other. This excessive gazing apparently leads to irritation, envy, or ill will developing between them, a kind of mental friction or corruption.
Okay.
This mental state exhausts them, depletes their energy, and causes them to fall from that realm.
So negative mental states lead to their downfall.
Right. And again, if one is reborn as an ascetic and remembers his past life, they recall falling due to ill will towards other gods.
And their conclusion.
They conclude, those gods who don't develop excessive ill will towards each other, they are eternal. But we became impermanent because our minds got corrupted. Same pattern.
Sure.
Generalizing from a specific instance of decline remembered from a past life.
Makes sense. And the fourth view?
The fourth is a bit different. It's the accidentalist or fortuitous origin view, Atthikasamuppanna. It relates to beings reborn in a realm of unconsciousness.
Unconscious gods. Asanyasata Deva.
Exactly. These are beings in a state devoid of perception, a very high but subtle realm achieved through meditation focused on non-perception. They exist there for a vast period, but it's not permanent.
So what happened?
Eventually, maybe due to some subtle residual karma, a thought or perception arises in that being. The moment perception arises, they fall from that unconscious state.
The arising of consciousness itself causes the fall.
Yes. Now, if such a being is reborn on Earth as an ascetic and remembers only that very last moment of their previous existence,
The sudden arising of perception just before the fall.
what do they conclude? They only remember perception suddenly arising, seemingly out of nowhere, followed by their current existence. So they think, the self and the world arise without cause. It all just happened by chance, fortuitously.
Because their memory cuts off right before the crucial moment, they miss the preceding state of unconsciousness and whatever led to the arising of perception.
Precisely. They mistake the arising of perception for them as the arising of existence itself, without a prior cause.
So across all four views, the fundamental issue is incomplete memory, leading to flawed conclusions about the ultimate nature of reality, eternity, creation, or causality.
That's the core insight. The Buddha's claim is that his ability to recall lifetimes far, far beyond these limited snippets allows him to see the actual intricate causal sequences. He sees why the Brahma thought he was a creator, why the playful gods fell, why the mentally corrupted ones fell, and what happened before perception arose in the unconscious being.
And because his knowledge is comprehensive, and importantly, because he isn't attached to any one partial view,
His understanding leads to true liberation, not just another philosophical dead end based on faulty reasoning from incomplete data. It's a powerful statement about the nature of true wisdom versus speculative philosophy.
absolutely, it really shifts the focus from what the origin story is to how we arrive at our beliefs about origins and the limitations of our own perspective.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered Sunakhatta's complaints, the predictions, the challenge from Pāṭikasuttaṃ, and the Buddha's sophisticated take on origins. Is there anything else crucial from this sutta before we wrap up?
There's one final point of clarification the Buddha makes, addressing a specific misrepresentation of his teaching that was apparently circulating.
Oh, what were people getting wrong?
He notes that some ascetics and Brahmins were falsely claiming that he taught that beautiful liberation, suppamavimukha, is actually understood as not beautiful. Basically, twisting his teaching to sound negative or world-denying in a way it wasn't intended.
So misinterpreting the goal of the path.
Yes, and the Buddha explicitly corrects this. He states very clearly, I teach that beautiful liberation is understood as beautiful. He affirms the positive, appealing nature of the ultimate goal. It highlights how important accurate understanding is and how easily spiritual teachings can be distorted.
That's a good reminder. Don't take secondhand interpretations as gospel. Check the source. Understand the nuance.
Definitely. And this leads to a poignant moment with Bhaggavagotto, the wanderer who first brought up Sunakhatta's departure.
What happens with him?
Having heard all this, Bhaggavagotto expresses his now very strong faith in the Buddha. He's clearly impressed, and he asks, quite earnestly, can I achieve this beautiful liberation?
A very direct, personal question. What does the Buddha say? Does he say yes?
His answer is quite measured, actually. He tells Bhaggavagotto that it would be difficult for him.
Difficult. Why?
Because Bhaggavagotto holds differing views, follows different practices, hasn't made the specific kind of effort required, and lacks the specific guidance inherent in the Buddha's path, it's not a judgment, more realistic assessment of where Bhaggavagotto is starting from.
So what advice does he give him?
He advises Bhaggavagotto to simply guard his faith in the Buddha, cherish the confidence he now feels.
That's interesting. So not drop everything and follow me, but preserve the faith you have. What's the significance of that?
I think it emphasizes that while intellectual understanding and faith are valuable foundations, achieving the ultimate goal, beautiful liberation, requires more. It needs dedicated practice, a willingness to change one's views, specific effort, and guidance within that particular framework. It's not just about believing, it's about transforming oneself through the path.
Right. Faith is maybe the starting point or a crucial support, but the journey requires more active participation and transformation. It's not passive.
Exactly. It respects Bhaggavagotto's current situation while pointing towards the depth of commitment needed for the full journey.
Okay, that brings us towards the end. Let's try and synthesize this. What are the big takeaways from this deep dive into the Pāṭikasuttaṃ?
Well, I think first we see the Buddha responding to challenges with not just clever arguments, but profound insight and these really undeniable demonstrations of foresight. Even when the person receiving the proof, like Sunakhatta, just refuses to learn.
Yeah, that resistance to truth, even in the face of evidence, is a major theme, isn't it? A timeless human problem.
Definitely. And it forces us to ask ourselves how open we are. Then there's the whole exploration of cosmic cycles and the critique of origin stories.
Right, the idea that clinging to limited, partial knowledge, those incomplete memories, leads to fundamentally mistaken views about reality, about creation, about causality.
It's a powerful lesson in intellectual humility, and in discerning true comprehensive wisdom from just confident sounding speculation based on fragments.
And the nature of the real miracle or superhuman feat that is redefined, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just predicting a death or levitating or making fire. The truly profound feat is the deep, unattached knowledge itself, the wisdom that actually liberates beings from suffering.
A knowledge that sees the whole picture, free from clinging. That's presented as far surpassing any partial recollection or certainly any arrogant boast like Pukaputo's.
Precisely. The focus consistently returns to liberation from suffering through wisdom and non-attachment.
So as we wrap up, maybe the provocative thought for listeners is this. In our own lives, our own search for knowledge, for truth, how much are we really open to seeing beyond our existing beliefs, our preconceived notions?
Yeah, what are our own potential biases? What partial memories, maybe not literal past lives, but past experiences, cultural conditioning, things we think we know for sure might be shaping or limiting our understanding of the world right now?
And what would it actually take for us to learn to genuinely embrace a more comprehensive view, especially if it means letting go of ideas we've held on to tightly, things we thought defined reality?
It's a deep question about the nature of learning and the courage it takes to potentially discard cherished beliefs when faced with broader insight. That seems to be a central challenge highlighted by Sunakkhatta's story.
The challenge indeed, something to definitely reflect on.